For this assignment, I decided to visit two parks near Box Hill. This adventure gave me an opportunity to understand how a place can play an important role in defining the language of science. As I entered the park, I was immediately drawn towards the pond. Like Anne Pello, I decided to foster a love for my place by engaging my heart, body, and mind in the park. Here, I reflected on how much the place had changed over the last 2 years. I noticed a new bridge that was built near the pond so children could cycle around it. I also noticed the variety of vegetation in the park, which made me think about different species of plants and shrubs. The algae in the pond also made me wonder as to how algae grow. And here I learned that algae need water, sunlight, carbon, and nutrients for growth, all of which are present in nature even though we cannot see it. As I strolled around, I also noticed several trees and leaves around me. I realized how every leaf was distinct from the other in terms of shapes, sizes, and color. This made me think about the 4 seasons and how the leaves change color every season. Noticing the distinction among leaves also made me consider that some leaves were greener than others because they had more chlorophyll present in them. Ham and Boucher also discuss the idea of place thought, which states that land is alive and thinking, and that humans and non-humans derive agency through the extensions of these thoughts. I particularly saw this in my next observation. Upon noticing the trees, I reflected on the differentiation between twigs, branches, and trunks. I realized that when birds make a nest, they choose twigs because of the weight and strength of the sticks, which helps them to balance the nest. This shows how birds are capable of building from the natural material around them. It also made me realize how non-human others have the ability to apply science by building and becoming engineers just like us. This experience was also tied to the Aboriginal perspective of a place as a pedagogical contact zone, which shows that places are always in a state of entanglement with human and non-human beings. Through these entanglements, we can learn with and from a place. Upon visiting the second park, I also noticed that my childlike curiosity to explore and learn had only grown stronger. Like Anne Pello, I felt a hunger to learn more about the histories linked to this place. I noticed that the council had taken measures to educate us more about Aboriginal history by labeling various trees. This moved me to pay my respect to the traditional custodian owners upon the land on which I stood. It also made me curious to learn about authentic Aboriginal flower species and their growth processes instead of simply generalizing them. Pello says that generalities are just a barrier to intimacy, so I decided to go in depth and form an intimate relationship with this place, my place. I noticed different flowers in sunlight and thought about photosynthesis and light. I thought about the concept of light and dark and thought about the formation of shadows, which can only be formed when opaque objects are placed in the path of light. I also noticed bees on pollens, which made me think about different bug and insect species that exist. Before I was about to leave, I came across some rocks and couldn't help but feel their rustic texture and think about rock formations through the processes of erosion and deposition. I concluded my journey by playing like a child on rocks, and whoop, I fell too, but at least I went back with a deepened sense of my ecological identity and a rekindled desire to learn science by connecting with the world around me.